Hello and good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Virtual College Exploration for all North and South Carolina students, sponsored by CACRAO, the Carolinas Association of Collegiate Registrars and Admissions Officers, and StriveScan. Thank you all for joining us today, and thank you to our panelists who are going to be speaking with you this afternoon. Just have a couple of quick announcements before we get started with this afternoon's program. You can use the Q&A button on your screen to type your questions to our presenters at any time throughout the presentation, so they'll have access to that. The camera and microphone for you are turned off, so the panelists cannot see or hear you, but again, you can communicate with them through that Q&A feature. This is just one of the many different sessions that are happening this week. So be sure to check out the full schedule at CACRAO.org, that's CACRAO.org. And a lot of schools are also going to have individual information sessions over these next couple weeks, so definitely check those out as well. And this recording is going to be available on that same website, CACRAO.org, CACRAO.org, so you can always come back and view that recording. Or if you have friends who weren't able to attend live today, they'll be able to watch it on that same website. So with that, I would like to turn it over to our presenters.
Hi, everyone. So my name is Sierra Frierson. I'm one of your presenters today. I'm an admissions counselor at Winthrop University. I've been working at Winthrop for about 4 years now, and I'm also a Winthrop alum. But I'm so glad that you all are able to join us today and learn a little bit more about resources that you all can utilize to pay for your education.
Again, welcome. My name is Casey Whitmire, and I'm as well an admissions counselor from Brevard College in Brevard, North Carolina. Hopefully we can help you guys out a little bit today with learning how to pay for college.
Hello, everyone. My name is Aisha Steele. I am an admissions counselor at the College of Charleston, located in Charleston, South Carolina. I am so happy to be before you today and talk to you guys about how to pay for college.
Hello, I am Kelly Savoy with Sally Mae. I'm the regional director working with schools in South Carolina and North Carolina. Thank you.
All right, everyone. So we're going to start off by talking kind of the top things that you're going to learn today. Some of those are going to be the difference between indirect and direct costs. We're going to be explaining the FAFSA to you. We're going to talk about how to apply for the FAFSA, sources of financial aid, including outside scholarships. You're going to talk about South Carolina state scholarships as well as North Carolina state scholarships, institutional scholarships and what that means, and then loans and payment plans, and then what you can do today.
Great. Right out of the gate, we've got indirect and direct costs. And this is something you do want to pay attention to. When you look at a school's website, you'll see cost of attendance, and look through that, and your direct costs are going to be your tuition, fees, housing and meal plans that are paid directly to the school. Indirect costs are expenses not paid directly to the school. And so this is going to be your books and any school supplies, sometimes a laptop, transportation, personal expenses. If you're living off campus, that might be your housing. But you want to take both of these into consideration when you're looking at the cost of attendance. Many times your indirect costs are overlooked or not thought about. So do make sure that you do consider that in looking at the cost of attendance.
Now, there is FAFSA and there is financial aid as well. For FAFSA, that is the free application for federal student aid. It is an application that will become available to students as soon as October 1st, but it's an official form that is used to qualify for state funding. For financial aid, that's a student's entire package. So say if a student decides to fill out a FAFSA, it will include the FAFSA, any academic scholarships, any merit-based scholarships, or any outside scholarships that a student has found and has been able to apply it to their financial aid.
And this, if I can just say, the FAFSA does open up on October 1st for this next academic year, and you do want to complete that as close to the October 1st deadline, or I'm sorry, not deadline, as close to that October 1st date, because there is some aid that will point out as we go through this that is first come, first serve. And so you do want to get that in as soon as possible. So where do you go? It is FAFSA.gov. You do want to pay attention to the deadlines. They do vary by state. They also vary by school. So do make sure you're looking at your state deadlines as well as your school deadlines. And make sure you know, I would encourage everybody to complete this application because it allows you to make sure that you're looking at all of the funding that will be available to you, federal funding as well as school funding, and many of your states look at this.
So investing in your education means that you are investing in your future. And a big part of that is figuring out how to pay for college. Make sure that you know the tuition amounts for all of your college options, and using the 1, 2, 3 approach is a great tool to help you with that. So first, start with money that you will not have to repay back, like scholarships. As a senior, you should be actively looking for scholarships because it's a great way to earn free money that you do not have to pay back. And college savings that you have, any grants, which are usually funded by the government, and any work study options. Second would be explore federal loan options, which are issued by the government. These options are also presented through the FAFSA. And lastly, fill in any gaps with responsible education loans. They are usually offered by banks and credit unions, and you should usually seek out these options with the help of a parent or a legal guardian. So, sources for financial aid. One being scholarships. A scholarship is a financial support awarded to a student based on academic achievement or other criteria that may include financial need for the purpose of schooling. There are various types of scholarships, the most common being merit scholarship, need-based scholarships, athletic scholarships, or even specialty scholarships. The federal government provides grants for students attending college or career school. The most common types, unlike loans, are sources of free money that do not have to be repaid. And the criteria for grants can include anything from academic interest to financial need or necessity. Employment options or work study aid is money awarded to students that requires something in return, such as volunteer hours or a certain number of work hours during your time in school. And lastly, loans. A student loan is a type of loan designed to help you pay for your education and associated fees such as tuition, books, supplies, and living expenses. It's money borrowed from the government or a private lender to pay for college, and the loan must also be paid back at a later time, along with interest that may build up with that loan. And I think Kelly is going to talk a little bit more about various loan options.
Yeah, and if I can also just, when we think of employment opportunities, even if you get the federal work study, and that is one of those things that it's a first come, first serve. That is a great vehicle to cover some of those indirect costs, because that is not money that is paid up front. That is something you will get as the hours are worked. So it does help out greatly with those indirect costs that'll come along during the semester. But do realize that that is generally not money that is paid to you up front. But again, it is first come, first serve. So you do want to get the FAFSA in, and it does require, the federal work study does require the FAFSA. Okay, so when we talk about loan options, Through the federal government in completing the FAFSA, we have two options that are available to the student, and these are the unsubsidized loan and subsidized loan. Say that 10 times fast. So what is the difference between them? The unsubsidized loan, you are responsible for the interest that is accruing, and it does start accruing as soon as that loan is dispersed to pay for your tuition. And then once you complete your education, there's usually a grace period where no payments due. And then you will start making payments on that, and all of that interest that has accrued while I'm in school, I am responsible for. The unsubsidized loans, these loans, there is no interest that's accruing while I'm in school. So if you are offered subsidized and unsubsidized, you want to maximize your subsidized loans before utilizing the unsubsidized. Both of them will have the same interest rate. It's just a difference of whether the interest is subsidized or unsubsidized. Payments on these loans do begin 6 months after leaving school or dropping to less than half time. These loans are completely in the student's name. And my freshman year, I'm eligible for $5,500. And then as I go through my program, as I go through my schooling, each year that I progress, I'm eligible for a little bit more. So as a sophomore, I'm eligible for $6,500, and my junior and senior year, I'm eligible for $7,500. So it's not unlimited funding, but it's very competitive interest rates, very well priced, and it does offer you some great advantages there. Also with these loans, they are through the federal government, and depending on what you go into, there can be some forgiveness options in there. So these are, and everybody, really, there are very few people that are not going to qualify for at least the unsubsidized loan. So you should always, another reason why you should always complete the FAFSA. That will be an option for probably 95% of people out there. So you really do want to make sure you know that that is an option for you. The other thing that is available in completing the FAFSA is the Parent Plus loan. It does require the FAFSA to be completed. This loan is completely in the parent's name. The student is not on this loan, but it can be, I told you about the loan limits that are on the unsubsidized and subsidized loans. The parent loan can be used to bridge that gap. If that is not the route that your family wants to take, there are many additional options. There are private education loans. Aisha mentioned those in the 1, 2, 3 step. And so you do want to compare your options, figure out what's the best one for you, and make sure that it fits within your family budget. But there are also payment plans, and I encourage everybody to look at the school, talk to the school. Most schools do offer a payment plan. These vary from school to school. Generally, they're offered from anywhere from 3 to 10 months. There might be a nominal fee. It's basically an administrative fee to sign up for one. But the great thing about these payment plans are at the end of that semester, at the end of your academic year, you owe nothing. There's no interest on them and you owe nothing. So it really is complete. There's no one size fits all. And so do take the time to sit there and figure out what is best for your family situation. And many families today will say, okay, well, I like this payment plan. I don't know that I can do the whole amount there. So you can use a blend of them. Whatever you can put on the payment plan, you borrow that much less.
All right, so I'm going to talk a little bit about different scholarships. So one type of scholarship that different schools offer, you could call them a talent-based scholarships. So those are scholarships that usually will have a student take part in an audition. And those are usually for programs like music, art, theater, graphic design, dance. And sometimes, if it's something like art or graphic design, they may supplement the audition with, say, like presenting a portfolio of your work. As an art major myself, that is what I had done. So another kind that different institutions may have are merit-based scholarships. So those are going to be based on your academics while you were in high school, and they're usually offered through the individual institutions. So some of them may have also community scholarships. Certain schools in different athletic conferences and divisions offer athletic scholarships, as well as state scholarships that may be available to you in any state. And then also outside scholarships. So one thing we want to talk about is, there are scholarships for almost anything. There'll be some resources on a few slides later from now that are going to have some different scholarships that you can look at. But you'll find them for different clubs, organizations, interests, and all those types of things. And one thing that's really important to remember about scholarships is they do fall into the category of aid that you do not have to repay. This is money that is awarded to you.
So next, I will talk about South Carolina state scholarships. This is part of the lottery money. So there are 3 different scholarships that South Carolina awards. So there's the Hope Scholarship, Life Scholarship, as well as the South Carolina Palmetto Fellow Scholarship. These are all scholarships that a student can receive before graduating high school, but some can be achieved while in college as well. So for example, if a student has a 3.0 GPA upon graduating high school, then they can receive the Hope Scholarship, which is valued at $2,800. The thing about the Hope Scholarship is the Hope Scholarship will only remain the Hope Scholarship your freshman year of college. So a student can either lose that scholarship or they can gain the Life Scholarship if they are eligible and meet the requirements in college. For the Life Scholarship, it is valued at $5,000. And there's 2 ways that a student can receive that. The first way is for a student to have a 3.0 GPA and rank in the top 30 percentile of their class. That's how most students receive the Life Scholarship. And then the second way to receive the Life Scholarship is if a student has a 3.0 cumulative GPA, a 24 ACT score, or an 1100 SAT score. For the Palmetto Fellow Scholarship, students have to apply for this. So you would go through your guidance counselor, either your junior or senior year. If you've gone through the application process with your guidance counselor your junior year, that means that you had a 3.5 GPA, a 27 on your ACT, or a 1200 on your SAT. Now, if you receive the Palmetto Fellow Scholarship your senior year, that means you had a 4.0 GPA, you ranked in the 6th percentile upon graduating, and you had a 1400 SAT score or a 32 ACT score. Now, for one thing I forgot to mention is the life enhancement. Students are able to receive this scholarship after their freshman year. So say if I'm a student and I want to major in any STEM majors, so that can be science, technology, engineering, mathematics, environmental science. Definitely check with your college to see if your major is on that list, because you can receive that scholarship as well, which is an additional $2,500 to help you pay towards your education.
All right, next up is the North Carolina scholarships. It is important that you do note that these in North Carolina, it does require that you complete the FAFSA. And so that is part of what looks at it. You don't have to do anything to apply for these. And so there are a few scholarships that are available. There is the, these are lottery scholarships as well. So we have the community college scholarship that is $2,300, and it does require you to be taking at least 6 credit hours and be attending a North Carolina Community College. There is also one for the UNC need-based, this is the need-based grant. That one is valued at $4,200, and it does require you to be taking, does require credit hours, but in completing the FAFSA and completing and enrolling at the school, it will just automatically show up on your financial offer letter from the school. They do also have the North Carolina need-based scholarship, which is $7,340, and this is for the private institutions. But all do require you to be in good standing, enrolled at the respective school, the community college, the UNC campus, or the private school, and have completed the FAFSA.
So scholarships as they pertain to the College of Charleston, all students are evaluated for merit-based scholarships upon applying. There isn't a separate application that you have to complete. As long as you submit in your application by February 15th, you will be considered for merit scholarship and you will be notified in your acceptance letter. Second is departmental scholarships. So these are scholarships made available to students from various departments on campus. The criteria for these scholarships vary, and the primary one being that you are intending to or are currently majoring in a particular program. Some of these departmental scholarships do require auditions or presentation of portfolios. And to be considered for these scholarships, you would need to first submit in your regular CFC application, and then the supplemental application will become available to you. And you would just have to get that submitted in by January 1st to be considered. And lastly, specialty scholarships are scholarships for CFC students presented by various departments or donors. And you can find a list of these scholarships on our website and information on how to apply to these opportunities as well.
Okay, so at Winthrop University, we offer scholarships as well, which are merit-based. We offer them to both South Carolina residents, out-of-state students, international students as well, and then transfer students. How it works is once a student applies to the university and we have received all of their supplemental items, so their completed application, high school transcript, test scores, we will review them for any merit-based aid. And our aid ranges from a certain amount to another certain amount as well. And we are not, unfortunately, we do not stack those scholarships. So you would receive one of those merit-based scholarships. If a student is out of state, we do award tuition waivers as well as a scholarship. We do have a hardcore priority deadline, and that is February 1st for incoming freshmen. Now, there are talent scholarships. These are some of the ones that are offered at Winthrop. So you would have to audition for these scholarships. So there's music, dance. We have one for interior design, graphic design as well. And then there's departmental scholarships. These do vary by department. However, a lot of the departmental scholarships are awarded once a student is a Winthrop student and has accumulated a Winthrop GPA. At Winthrop, we are partnered with Raise.me. So it's Raise.me. We are partnered with them, so you are able to receive scholarships as well. The only thing about this outside scholarship is you wouldn't be able to receive the outside scholarship and a merit-based scholarship. So whichever scholarship amount is, or whatever scholarship award is higher, that's the one that we are going to award to you.
All right, I'm going to talk a little bit about how scholarships work at Brevard College. So we offer scholarships to every incoming student. And one of the cool things is all of the institutional aid that we do offer, which is what you see on the screen in front of you. If there is an application or an interview process, it's a one-time interview. And then it's like some schools do this and some schools don't. But we are like a school that, you'll get that amount each year that you attend after that without any other additional interviews or applications. So the moment you're accepted, if you're a resident of North or South Carolina, as well as a few bordering counties in Tennessee, we would offer you a half tuition scholarship that's going to be worth $14,200. Now, if you're outside of that area at Brevard College, we'll offer you a merit-based scholarship, which will range based on your GPA and whether or not you are using a test score or going test optional. And those are going to range anywhere between $10,000 and say $13,000. After that, we have certain scholarships that might require interviews, like a scholarship day interview. We offer an early enrollment grant, which is up to $1,500. Honors programs, which will be around $1,000. We have women's programs that will offer another $1,000 scholarship. Some things we have that kind of go on the lines of like a talent-based scholarship is a drumline scholarship. So, if you have interest in percussion, that's something that, you can look at any kind of school for. And then one thing that we have, as well as kind of those talent-based, are our fine arts scholarships. And like a lot of the other schools mentioned, they also would require an audition. But the half tuition, merit, and fine arts scholarships are the only ones we have that don't stack. You get one of the three of those. So the merit being kind of at the bottom, the half tuition being that middle ground, and then usually the fine arts scholarships would be in excess of those half tuitions. So those are kind of the institutional offerings we have here at Brevard College.
All right, and here are some websites of some scholarship search tools. Sally Mae has a scholarship search tool. You see that on there. The great thing about these scholarship search tools are they make the world a lot smaller. In utilizing these search tools, these are the companies that have put these out there. These are vetted scholarships that have already gone through. They have made sure that they are legitimate. You can feel confident in putting your information out there. But what happens when you use one of these scholarship search tools is you go online, you put in your information. It will ask you a lot of information about your hobbies, your interests, and then it will go out and search the database of scholarships and send you back a listing of all the scholarships that you would be eligible for, how much they are, what is the value of them, what is the due date as to when is the last date you can apply, and a link to apply. And so again, it makes the world a lot smaller and makes sure that you're applying for legitimate scholarships that that time and time again are of benefit there. A couple people have mentioned the Raise Me. That's a relatively new one. I think it's been around for 4 or 5 years, but it's a great search tool there. You'll see FastWeb through College Board, Big Futures, some great scholarship search tools there. The CFNC.org, that's a great resource to go to, particularly for your North Carolina scholarships. They do have, that is where you will find the more details and nitty gritty on the North Carolina scholarships there. Okay. And in looking at it, I see we do have some questions out there. It seems like we've got a reoccurring question about the state scholarships. Whether it's North Carolina or South Carolina, those scholarships specific to those states do require you to be a resident of that state. So if you're a resident of North Carolina attending one of those North Carolina schools, you would be eligible for those scholarships applicable to each one of those schools. And in South Carolina, if you're a South Carolina resident attending a South Carolina school, you would be eligible for the Hope Life in Palmetto.
And that concludes the presentation portion of this panel. So now I'm actually going to stop sharing my screen and we're going to open up the chat feature for you guys to ask any questions. We're going to try to get to as many questions as possible. And if we cannot get to your question, please feel free to reach out to any of us after this presentation is over, okay?
So I'll answer this question. It says, how do colleges know which scholarships you have received? So say if a student has completed the FAFSA, any information from your FAFSA will be then generated to the financial aid department. So it will then generate, say if you qualify for grants, loans, that will be then listed. And then when financial aid packages are released, you will then know what you have been awarded from that specific school. So a student's financial aid package may look different at one institution versus another institution. So you definitely need to weigh your options when you are deciding what school you want to go to. When you are, another question popped up and it's put it down, excuse me. As far as the scholarship, say if you have an outside scholarship, then you need to then send that information over to the Department of Financial Aid. So there's sometimes where outside organizations or church affiliates, they will want to contribute to a student's education. They would need to send that information either to cashier's office or either to the Department of Financial Aid.
I have a question that says, how will we know if we've received a scholarship? From CFC specifically, and you guys can speak to your colleges, you will be notified if you received a merit scholarship in your acceptance letter. You will receive that in an email, and later if you are to receive any departmental scholarships, those departments will notify you via email as well.
That's how it works at Winthrop. So for our scholarship deadline for freshman students, the scholarship deadline is February 1st. And then you will know what scholarships you've received February 15th. And the same for any financial aid information that will follow after. So you'll be able to see your whole merit-based package.
Oh, it looks like there's a question about, are there scholarships for culinary arts? And there is a scholarship for everything out there. Whether you look at it from, and that is where you really do need to look at those search tools, look what's out there. They're gonna, my co-panelists are gonna laugh, but there is a scholarship out there if you like asparagus. So make sure you put some effort into looking for those scholarships. That is something you could be doing right now, as well as looking at what you'd be eligible for at the individual schools.
I just want to go back to that question. Can you use the South Carolina State Scholarship if you go to an out-of-state school? You cannot, but let's say if you go to if you decide to go to a school in Florida, and you decide, okay, you didn't find your niche there, it wasn't the best fit for you, and you decide to come back to South Carolina, then you can then use that scholarship.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
I see a question that says, is color guard or winter guard included in the fine arts scholarships? I find this question near and dear to my heart because I was in color guard during my time in high school. So there isn't specifically a color guard scholarship unless you are going to an institution that has band and they offer that. But a lot of my peers auditioned for dance scholarships through the dance program, whether they majored in dance or they minored in dance, and they found scholarship opportunities that way as well.
One question on here says, do the scholarships you apply for have to pertain to your intended major? If you are applying for a talent scholarship, it does. So say if I am a music major and I apply for that scholarship and I've been awarded that scholarship, then I have to stay a music major. If you decide to switch your major at any time, you would lose that talent-based scholarship. However, any outside scholarships that you apply for, they're not always based on major specific scholarships. As Kelly stated before, there's a scholarship for anything. There's a scholarship for being left-handed. So.
Mm-hmm.
I see a scholarship that says, well, we need a portfolio of previous work for theater scholarships. At the College of Charleston, we actually host live performance auditions for theater students that are interested in scholarships. So that would be how you earn a theater scholarship here at the College of Charleston. So you wouldn't necessarily need a portfolio.
Just to kind of piggyback off that, one of the things that we also focus on here at Brevard College is like tech theater. So not only just the performing side of theater, but say if you're into set design or lighting design, that's where maybe having a portfolio of that information and those projects that you've worked on might be beneficial.
Most institutions that would require a portfolio would be if you're majoring in art or graphic design or ceramics, interior design. That's another one. This is a great question. How does the process, you all are sending a lot of questions, thank you. So how does the process of enrolling in a double major or major and minor work? Speaking in terms of payments, fees, housing, tuition, etc. So I know at Winthrop and most colleges, it's not an extra fee. Maybe the lab fees would be extra, but there's no extra cost for double majoring. As far as double majoring at Winthrop, you would come on into the university with one major, and then once you have started and selected your classes, you would then go to that academic college to select another major. But speaking from experience, I would definitely make sure your majors pair up together and make sure you're able to still graduate in the same amount of time.
Oh, here's a really good question. For those that are dual credit students and have extra credits when entering college for the first time, do you still get counted as a freshman? And are they still able to receive freshman scholarships? This is a really big misconception. Yes, you are still considered an incoming freshman and you will still receive all incoming freshman scholarships.
The only time, to piggyback off of what Aisha says, the only time a student is not considered a first-time freshman is if they attended another institution and then transferred to another institution. So that's when you would be considered a transfer student. So even if you've taken AP credit, dual enrollment, CLEP testing, you would still be considered a first-time freshman if you have decided to commit there first. So this question says, what scholarships from colleges do and do not require an additional application or something additional we have to submit from our freshman admissions application? So most colleges, so you would have to do the research yourself on what schools you are interested in. Some colleges, they automatically review you for those scholarships. And then some colleges, you would have to write an essay when you are completing your application to that school, and then they would consider a scholarship that way. It would just depend on what school you are interested in. Some schools, it says, how many scholarships can I stack? It depends on the institution that you're going to. Some schools allow you to stack, and then some schools do not allow you to stack. So just to give you an example, say if you were an out-of-state student and you were coming to our school for basketball, and the basketball team gave you a out-of-state scholarship, but we awarded you, admissions awarded you an out-of-state scholarship as well. And then the basketball team also awarded you a scholarship on top of that out-of-state scholarship. You cannot take both out-of-state scholarships from the admissions department and the athletics department. You would have to choose. So you can take the admissions scholarship for academics as well as the out-of-state tuition waiver. And then for the athletic scholarship, you can take the scholarship, but you couldn't take the tuition waiver. So it just depends.
I see a question here that says, can you share your contact information again? So I'm just going to share my screen so that you can see all of our contact information and our emails.
Oh, this is a good question. Can you use multiple scholarships that have nothing to do with each other at the same time? Depends. It honestly depends on the school that you go to. So for example, say if you had a scholarship, is there outside scholarships? Yes, you can use them. Say if you got a scholarship for being left-handed, say if you got a scholarship for your major, that's an outside scholarship that wasn't awarded through that institution. Say if you got a scholarship for ethnicity, anything like that, you can stack those. Those are considered outside scholarships. So you can use them at the same time.
I feel like the only time there are usually restrictions on stacking scholarships is when it pertains to the institution and how they awarded you those scholarships.
Correct. So this is a great question. Do scholarships only go towards tuition, or can it be pocket money as well? So it depends. So for example, say if a school costs $25,000 to go to, but you were only awarded $24,000 in FAFSA scholarships and financial aid awards. So that's $24,000, and then the school costs $25,000 to go to. You won't have any pocket money. You would have to pay $1,000. You either have to get a loan, or you would have to pay that out of your pocket yourself. Now, say if your financial aid package happens to be greater than the cost of attendance of the school. So for instance, I've seen some students, their aid is like $28,000, but the cost of the school is $23,000. Then that means you have $5,000 essentially to spend. However, I would definitely use it towards your books. I would use it to pay back loans. I would use it wisely.
And to further that, so that's where the school is going to look at the total cost of attendance. And so that's going to consider your direct and indirect costs within that. And so that will help you with that.
And to piggyback off that, if any student's cost of attendance is lower than their financial aid award, then what happens is whatever the difference is, you would receive a refund check.
Mm-hmm.
So does the outside scholarships we apply for go towards the college we are applying, or is it pocket money? It is not pocket money. When you all are applying for these scholarships, it's not something that goes in your pocket. It's not something you can go to use for internet shopping. It goes directly towards the institution. So say if I go to raise.me, basically any scholarship that I receive from that website, it is going to go to the institution that I plan to go to. And keep in mind, any outside scholarships you receive, you have to send that information over to financial aid. That's how they are going to know you received those scholarships.
And now, in respects to time, we are going to turn things back over to our facilitator and end the presentation.
All right, thank you everyone for joining us this afternoon, and we appreciate you taking the time out. Thank you to our panelists as well for all of this great information. One quick thing to note about the Q&A. If you had a question today and we were not able to get to that, all of our panelists are going to receive a transcript of the questions in about a week. So they can always follow up with you directly if there's something that they were not able to address today due to time. So a couple other things before we wrap up. There is going to be a quick survey as soon as I close out this webinar. There's going to be a quick 4-question survey that pops up, and we appreciate it if you're able to fill that out. You can also sign up for more sessions this week at CACRAO.org, CACRAO.org, and there are individual institution sessions happening over the course of the next couple weeks as well. And the last thing, this recording is going to be available within about a week on the CACRAO site, CACRAO.org, so you'll be able to go back and rewatch this information. Thanks, everyone, and hope you have a wonderful day.
Thank you.